In the glittering world of British royalty, where every gesture carries weight and every piece of jewelry tells a story, one evening would change everything. Picture this: the most anticipated charity gala of the year, cameras flashing, aristocrats whispering, and then suddenly a collective gasp that echoed through the grand ballroom. What happened in those few seconds would spark conversations in palaces and parlors alike, revealing truths about family bonds, unspoken tensions, and the delicate dance of royal protocol. Sometimes the most powerful moments happen not in throne rooms or state ceremonies, but in the quiet glances shared between family members when they think no one is watching. This is the story of such a moment, when a simple piece of jewelry became the catalyst for understanding the complex relationships that exist behind the palace walls. The evening started like any other royal engagement, but it would end with revelations that no one saw coming. What transpired would test the bonds of family, challenge long-held traditions, and show the world that even royalty faces the same human emotions we all know too well. The autumn evening air carried a crisp promise of winter as London's elite gathered at the magnificent Grosvenor House for what would become one of the most talked-about charity galas in recent royal history. The annual Children's Heart Foundation fundraiser had always been close to the royal family's heart, but tonight felt different from the moment the first guest stepped through the ornate entrance doors. Lady Margaret Thornton, a seasoned observer of royal events and longtime friend of the Windsor family, noticed the unusual energy immediately. She had attended countless royal functions over her 63 years, and her keen eye for detail had made her something of an unofficial royal correspondent among her social circle. Tonight, as she adjusted her emerald brooch and surveyed the gathering crowd, she sensed an undercurrent of anticipation that went beyond the typical excitement of a high-profile charity event. The ballroom itself was a masterpiece of elegance and tradition. Crystal chandeliers cast warm, golden light across the room, creating dancing shadows on the silk-draped walls adorned with fresh white roses and deep burgundy peonies. Round tables dressed in ivory linens were arranged throughout the space, each centerpiece a carefully crafted arrangement of seasonal flowers that spoke to the autumn theme. The stage at the far end of the room was set for the evening's entertainment, while a small orchestra tuned their instruments in the corner, filling the air with gentle melodies that seemed to float above the growing murmur of conversation. Charles arrived first, as protocol demanded, making his entrance with the measured confidence that comes from decades of public appearances. At 75, he moved with a dignity that had been carefully cultivated over years of royal training. Yet those who knew him well could detect the slight tension in his shoulders that suggested this evening carried more weight than usual. He wore his formal evening attire with practiced ease, the deep navy jacket complementing his silver hair, while his ceremonial orders caught the light with each step he took across the polished marble floor. The king's entrance drew the expected mix of reverent bows and warm smiles from the assembled guests. He moved through the room with practiced grace, stopping to exchange pleasantries with various dignitaries and longtime supporters of the charity. His conversations were warm but measured, each word carefully chosen as always. Yet there was something in his eyes, a distant quality that suggested his mind was elsewhere, perhaps anticipating what the evening might bring. Catherine arrived 20 minutes later, and her presence immediately shifted the atmosphere in the room. She wore a stunning midnight blue gown that flowed like water with each step, the elegant simplicity of the design speaking to her refined taste and growing confidence in her role as future queen. Her hair was styled in an elaborate updo that showcased the graceful line of her neck and shoulders, while her makeup was applied with the subtle perfection that had become her signature look at formal events. But it was the jewelry that truly commanded attention. Around her neck lay the Cambridge lover's knot tiara that had been transformed into a stunning necklace for the evening, a piece that carried profound historical significance within the royal family. The diamonds and pearls caught the light magnificently, creating a display that was both breathtaking and deeply meaningful to those who understood its provenance. This particular piece had been a wedding gift to Princess Diana from Queen Elizabeth, and its appearance tonight carried emotional weight that extended far beyond its monetary value. The necklace had not been seen in public for several years, making its appearance tonight particularly significant. Those familiar with royal protocol knew that such pieces were not chosen casually for public events. Every piece of jewelry worn by senior royals carried meaning, whether personal, historical, or diplomatic. The choice to wear this particular necklace suggested careful consideration and perhaps deeper significance that would only become apparent as the evening unfolded. William stood beside his wife, handsome in his formal evening wear, his posture straight and dignified. He watched the room with the careful attention that had become second nature to him over the years, his eyes occasionally flickering to Catherine with an expression of obvious pride and affection. Their connection was evident in small gestures, the way he briefly touched her elbow as they moved through the crowd, how she instinctively adjusted her position to better include him in conversations, the shared glances that spoke of years of partnership, both personal and professional. The couple moved through the room together, stopping to greet various guests and donors. Their conversations were animated and genuine, reflecting their deep commitment to the cause they were supporting. Catherine's laugh could be heard across the room at several points, a warm and infectious sound that seemed to put everyone around her at ease. She had grown tremendously in confidence over the years, and it showed in her natural ability to connect with people from all walks of life. As the evening progressed, various members of high society continued to arrive. Foreign diplomats, successful entrepreneurs, entertainment figures, and longtime supporters of the royal family filled the ballroom with animated conversation and elegant fashion. The champagne flowed freely, and the atmosphere grew increasingly festive as old friendships were renewed and new connections were made. Lady Thornton found herself in conversation with Sir Edmund Hartwell, a retired ambassador who had served the crown for over 40 years. They discussed the evening's agenda and marveled at the impressive turnout, but both kept glancing toward the entrance, waiting for one more significant arrival. "She's running rather late tonight," Sir Edmund observed quietly, adjusting his glasses as he scanned the room. "Perhaps she's making a grand entrance," Lady Thornton replied with a knowing smile. "You know how these things go." The anticipation was building palpably throughout the room. Experienced royal watchers could sense when something significant was about to happen, and tonight carried that particular energy that suggested the evening would be remembered long after the last guest had departed. The string quartet in the corner shifted into a more elaborate piece, their music providing an elegant backdrop to the growing excitement. Servers moved seamlessly through the crowd with silver trays of champagne and carefully crafted hors d'oeuvres, while photographers positioned themselves strategically around the room, their professional instincts telling them that tonight would provide images worthy of front-page coverage. Charles continued his rounds through the room, but those who knew him well noticed the way his eyes occasionally drifted toward the entrance. His conversations remained warm and engaging, but there was an underlying tension that suggested he was waiting for something or someone that would complete the evening's cast of characters. The charity organizers moved about with clipboards and quiet efficiency, ensuring that every detail of the evening proceeded according to plan. The auction items were displayed on elegant stands around the perimeter of the room, each piece carefully lit to show its best advantage. The evening schedule was proceeding smoothly, but the real drama had yet to begin. As 9 o'clock approached, the moment everyone had been unconsciously waiting for finally arrived. The distinctive sound of a royal protection officer's quiet communication could be heard near the entrance, signaling that the final member of the evening's royal contingent was about to make her appearance. The energy in the room shifted subtly, conversations becoming slightly more animated as everyone prepared for what was sure to be a memorable entrance. The stage was set for an evening that would exceed everyone's expectations, though no one could have predicted exactly how the night would unfold. In the glittering world of royal protocol and public appearances, some moments are carefully planned while others emerge from the complex dynamics of family relationships and unspoken emotions. Tonight would prove to be one of those rare occasions when genuine human drama would unfold in full view of London's most sophisticated audience. The grand entrance doors opened with ceremonial precision at precisely 9:15, and Camilla stepped into the ballroom with a regal bearing that had become her signature over years of royal appearances. At 76, she carried herself with a confidence that spoke of experience and determination, her silver hair styled in an elegant chignon that perfectly framed her face. She wore a stunning, deep purple gown that complemented her complexion beautifully, the rich fabric flowing gracefully as she moved across the marble floor. But it was the jewelry that caused the collective intake of breath that rippled through the assembled crowd like a wave. Around Camilla's neck hung a magnificent sapphire and diamond necklace that many in the room recognized immediately, though few could have expected to see it worn by her on this particular evening. The Cambridge sapphire necklace had been one of Princess Diana's most cherished pieces, a gift from the Queen Mother that Diana had worn to numerous state occasions and formal events throughout her marriage to Charles. Lady Thornton felt her champagne glass tremble slightly in her hand as she took in the sight. Beside her, Sir Edmund's eyebrows rose in surprise, and she could see similar reactions rippling through the crowd as the significance of the moment began to register. This was not simply a matter of jewelry selection. This was a statement that would be analyzed and discussed for months to come. The necklace itself was breathtaking, a masterpiece of royal jewelry craftsmanship that featured a stunning central sapphire surrounded by diamonds, with additional sapphires and diamonds creating an intricate pattern that caught the light magnificently. It had been photographed countless times during Diana's public appearances, and its reappearance tonight created an immediate connection to the beloved princess that many in the room had known personally. Camilla moved through the room with practiced grace, stopping to greet guests and accept their congratulations on her appearance. She seemed completely at ease with her choice of jewelry, her demeanor suggesting either complete confidence in her decision or remarkable composure under what must have been significant internal pressure. Her smile was warm and genuine as she engaged in conversation, showing no signs of awareness regarding the subtle stir her appearance had created. Charles watched his wife's entrance from across the room, and those paying close attention could see the complex mix of emotions that flickered across his face in those first few moments. Pride was certainly there, as well as admiration for her elegance and poise. But there was something else, a tightness around his eyes that suggested he understood the implications of her jewelry choice and perhaps had not been fully prepared for the reaction it would generate. Catherine and William, who had been engaged in conversation with a group of charity supporters, both turned toward the entrance as Camilla made her way into the room. Catherine's hand moved almost imperceptibly to her own necklace, the Cambridge lover's knot piece that had created its own stir earlier in the evening. The two women now stood in the same room, each wearing jewelry that carried profound connections to Diana's memory, creating a situation that royal protocol manuals had never specifically addressed. The irony was not lost on those familiar with royal history. Here were two women, both married to men who had loved Diana deeply, each wearing pieces that connected them to her legacy in different ways. Catherine wore the necklace as the current Princess of Wales, carrying forward Diana's title and many of her charitable interests. Camilla wore her piece as the current queen consort, having married the man Diana had once loved in a relationship that had caused considerable controversy during Diana's lifetime. As Camilla moved closer to where Catherine and William stood, the atmosphere in their immediate vicinity grew increasingly charged. Other guests began to notice the approaching convergence and position themselves to observe what would surely be a significant moment in royal family dynamics. Conversations became quieter, and several people found excuses to move closer to where the encounter would take place. The charity organizers, meanwhile, continued their work with professional determination, though they too were aware that their carefully planned event was about to become the backdrop for an unscripted family moment that would likely overshadow their fundraising efforts. The evening schedule called for formal remarks to begin shortly, but everyone understood that the real drama was about to unfold in the informal interactions between family members. Catherine's composure was remarkable as she watched Camilla approach. Her years of royal training showed in her perfect posture and serene expression, but those who knew her well might have detected the slight increase in the brightness of her smile that often indicated she was managing a challenging situation with grace and determination. She had learned to navigate complex family dynamics with diplomatic skill, but this evening was testing those abilities in new ways. William positioned himself slightly closer to his wife, a subtle gesture of support that spoke to their partnership and his protective instincts. His own expression remained carefully neutral, the years of royal training evident in his ability to maintain composure even when family dynamics became complicated. He had learned to balance his roles as son, husband, and future king with remarkable skill, but evenings like this required all of his diplomatic abilities. The photographers in the room had begun to sense that something significant was developing. Professional instincts honed over years of covering royal events told them to position themselves carefully for what might become a historically significant moment. Cameras were adjusted and positions were shifted as the two women drew closer together, though the movements were subtle enough not to disrupt the elegant atmosphere of the evening. Charles had begun moving across the room as well, his progress slowed by the numerous guests who wanted to greet him personally. His path would eventually bring him to where his wife and daughter-in-law were about to meet, but the timing would depend on how quickly he could navigate the social obligations that came with his position. Each conversation required attention and courtesy, but his eyes frequently moved toward the developing situation across the room. Other members of the royal family's extended circle watched the unfolding drama with fascination and concern. Many had lived through the tumultuous years of Charles and Diana's marriage and its aftermath, and they understood better than most how complicated the emotional undercurrents of this evening could become. The younger generation of royals had been raised with these complexities as part of their normal family environment, but public displays of family tension remained challenging for everyone involved. The music from the string quartet continued to provide elegant background ambience, though the musicians themselves had begun to notice the shift in the room's energy. Their professional training kept them focused on their performance, but it was impossible not to be aware that they were providing the soundtrack to what appeared to be a significant moment in royal family history. As the distance between Catherine and Camilla continued to close, guests throughout the ballroom found themselves holding their breath collectively. This was not a planned encounter designed for public consumption, but rather a genuine family moment that happened to be unfolding in front of London's most sophisticated and observant audience. The implications would extend far beyond this single evening, influencing public perception of royal family relationships for months or even years to come. The charity's cause, supporting children with heart conditions, seemed particularly poignant given the emotional weight of the evening's developments. Hearts were indeed the focus of the evening, though perhaps not in the way the organizers had originally intended. The intersection of personal history, family dynamics, and public duty was about to create a moment that would be remembered and analyzed long after the last guest had departed from Grosvenor House. The moment of convergence arrived with the sort of dramatic timing that novelists spend years trying to perfect, yet here it unfolded naturally in the golden glow of the Grosvenor House ballroom. Camilla reached the small group where Catherine and William stood with several charity supporters, and the immediate space around them seemed to expand as other guests instinctively stepped back to give the family members room for their interaction. Catherine turned toward her stepmother-in-law with a smile that managed to be both genuine and carefully controlled, a masterclass in royal diplomacy that years of training had perfected. The Cambridge lover's knot necklace caught the light as she moved, creating a brief sparkle that seemed to echo the flash of the Cambridge sapphire piece that adorned Camilla's throat. For a moment, both women stood facing each other, each wearing jewelry that connected them to the same beloved memory in profoundly different ways. "Camilla, you look absolutely stunning tonight," Catherine said, her voice carrying the warmth that had become one of her most recognized qualities. The words were chosen perfectly, acknowledging Camilla's appearance without directly referencing the controversial jewelry choice, a diplomatic solution that spoke to Catherine's growing sophistication in handling delicate family situations. "Thank you, my dear," Camilla replied, her own voice steady and gracious. "And might I say that necklace is particularly lovely on you this evening. It suits you beautifully." The exchange was polite and appropriate, yet those listening carefully could detect the underlying complexity of two women navigating shared history with remarkable composure. William stepped forward slightly, effectively creating a triangle formation that included both women and provided him with a natural position from which to guide the conversation. His diplomatic skills, honed through years of royal training and personal experience with family complexities, proved invaluable in managing what could have been an extremely awkward encounter. "The charity has done incredible work this year," he said, smoothly directing the conversation towards safer ground. "The new research initiatives they funded are already showing promising results for children with complex heart conditions." His ability to redirect focus while maintaining the natural flow of conversation demonstrated why he was widely regarded as one of the most skilled members of the royal family in handling public interactions. The group around them expanded to include several charity board members who had approached to greet the royal family members. Their presence provided additional conversational topics and helped diffuse some of the tension that had been building around the jewelry situation. Dr. Sarah Matthews, the charity's chief medical officer, launched into an enthusiastic description of recent breakthrough treatments, her genuine passion for her work helping to restore the evening's focus to its original purpose. Yet even as the conversation moved toward charitable work and medical advances, the undercurrent of family dynamics continued to flow beneath the surface. Other guests throughout the ballroom continued to watch the royal family members with fascination, many of them longtime observers of royal protocol who understood the significance of what they were witnessing. Lady Thornton, positioned at a nearby table, found herself in quiet conversation with several other experienced royal watchers. "I've never seen anything quite like this," she murmured to her companions. "The symbolism is extraordinary, whether intentional or not." Her words reflected the thoughts of many in the room who were struggling to understand the full implications of the evening's jewelry choices. Sir Edmund nodded thoughtfully. "Both pieces are magnificent, of course, but the timing of wearing them together creates quite a statement. One wonders if this was coordinated or if we're witnessing a completely spontaneous moment." His diplomatic background made him particularly attuned to the nuances of such situations, and he understood better than most how these seemingly small details could have far-reaching implications. Meanwhile, Charles had finally navigated his way across the room, his progress slowed by the numerous guests who felt compelled to engage him in conversation. Each interaction required his full attention and courtesy, but those watching closely could see the slight tension in his demeanor as he approached the group where his wife and daughter-in-law were engaged in conversation. As Charles joined the circle, the dynamic shifted once again. Now all the principal players in the evening's drama were present in one small area of the ballroom, creating a focal point that drew attention from across the room. The king's arrival seemed to provide both relief and additional complexity to the situation, as his presence offered family unity while potentially intensifying the emotional undercurrents surrounding the jewelry choices. "Good evening, everyone," Charles said, his voice carrying the practiced warmth that had served him well through decades of public appearances. "I see you've been discussing the charity's excellent work. The research initiatives really are quite remarkable." His ability to immediately identify and build upon the current conversation topic demonstrated his skill in managing complex social situations. Charles's eyes moved briefly from Catherine's necklace to Camilla's, a glance so quick that only those watching very carefully would have caught it. But in that momentary look, Years of complicated history seemed to flash past, from his early relationship with Camilla through his marriage to Diana, their divorce, Diana's death, and his eventual remarriage. The jewelry choices had brought all of that history into sharp focus in a way that words never could. Camilla noticed her husband's glance and responded with a subtle smile that could have been interpreted in multiple ways. Those who knew her well might have seen confidence in that expression, or perhaps a gentle challenge to anyone who might question her choices. She had learned over the years to handle public scrutiny with remarkable grace, and tonight's situation was certainly testing those abilities. The photographers in the room had positioned themselves strategically to capture this unprecedented gathering, though they maintained the respectful distance that royal protocol required. The images they were capturing would likely appear in newspapers and magazines around the world within hours, analyzed and interpreted by royal experts and casual observers alike. The charity organizers, meanwhile, were beginning to show signs of nervousness about their carefully planned schedule. The evening's formal program was supposed to begin soon, but the ongoing drama surrounding the royal family members was creating a situation that required delicate handling. They needed to maintain the focus on their charitable cause while respecting the family dynamics that were unfolding in their ballroom. As if sensing the organizers' concern, William began to guide the conversation toward the evening's agenda. "I believe we're approaching time for the formal presentations," he said diplomatically. "The work being honored tonight really deserves everyone's full attention." His natural leadership abilities and awareness of others' needs made him particularly effective in such situations. Catherine nodded in agreement, her diplomatic training evident in her immediate support of William's suggestion. "Absolutely. The courage of these children and their families is truly inspiring. Their stories need to be heard." Her genuine emotion when discussing the charity's beneficiaries was clearly visible, providing a reminder of the serious purpose behind the evening's elegant facade. The group began to move toward their assigned seats for the formal portion of the evening, but the significance of their brief interaction would continue to resonate throughout the night and far beyond. In those few minutes of conversation, layers of royal family history had been both acknowledged and navigated with remarkable diplomacy by all involved. As they walked toward the dining area, other guests began to follow suit, the ballroom gradually reorganizing itself for the next phase of the evening's program. But conversations throughout the room continued to buzz with discussion of what had just been witnessed, and it was clear that the jewelry choices and family dynamics would be analyzed and debated for weeks to come. The evening's formal program was about to begin, but the real drama had already reached its crescendo in those few moments of family interaction. What happened next would determine whether the remaining hours of the gala would be remembered for its charitable achievements or for the personal dynamics that had been so publicly displayed. The formal dinner portion of the evening began with the guests taking their assigned seats at elegantly appointed round tables throughout the ballroom. The royal family members were seated at the head table, positioned to overlook the assembled crowd, while maintaining the dignity and protocol that such occasions demanded. The seating arrangement had been carefully planned months in advance, but tonight it carried additional significance given the emotional undercurrents that had already begun to surface. Charles sat between Camilla and Catherine, a position that under normal circumstances would have been perfectly natural and appropriate, but tonight seemed to carry symbolic weight that extended far beyond mere protocol. The three of them maintained pleasant conversation with their table mates, discussing the charity's work and engaging with the other distinguished guests, but those observing closely could sense the careful attention being paid to every gesture and word. The Cambridge sapphire necklace continued to catch the light magnificently as Camilla turned her head to engage with different conversation partners around the table. Each movement seemed to create new facets of brilliance, drawing attention that she appeared to handle with complete composure. Whether her jewelry choice had been intended to make a statement or was simply a matter of personal preference, she carried herself with the dignity and confidence that had served her well through years of public scrutiny. Catherine's Cambridge Lover's Knot necklace provided its own moments of breathtaking beauty throughout the dinner. The diamonds and pearls creating an elegant complement to her midnight blue gown. She engaged warmly with everyone around her, her natural grace and growing confidence in her royal role evident in every interaction. The contrast between the two pieces of jewelry served as a constant reminder of the complex family history that surrounded the table. Yet both women handled the situation with remarkable poise. The evening speakers began their presentations shortly after the main course was served, focusing attention on the charitable cause that had brought everyone together. Dr. Matthews presented compelling statistics about the progress being made in pediatric heart research, while several families shared deeply moving stories about their children's journeys through complex medical treatments. The emotional weight of these presentations provided a poignant reminder of the serious purpose behind the elegant evening. As the formal presentations continued, Charles found himself deeply moved by the stories being shared. His genuine compassion for the families affected by childhood heart conditions was evident in his attentive posture and the way he leaned forward during particularly emotional moments. The cause had always been close to his heart, and hearing directly from families about their experiences clearly affected him profoundly. During a particularly touching presentation by a young mother whose daughter had undergone multiple surgeries, Charles reached out almost instinctively to place his hand gently on Camilla's, a gesture of shared emotion and connection that spoke to their partnership and mutual support. The simple movement caught the attention of several photographers, creating what would later become one of the evening's most discussed images. But it was what happened next that truly captured the complexity of the family dynamics at play. As Charles's hand rested on Camilla's, his eyes moved across the table to where Catherine sat, and their gazes met for a moment that seemed to carry profound understanding and mutual respect. In that brief exchange, years of careful relationship building and genuine affection seemed to be acknowledged and affirmed. Catherine responded to Charles's glance with a warm smile that was both personal and appropriate, her expression conveying the deep fondness that had developed between them over the years. Their relationship had evolved from the formal politeness of early acquaintance to genuine family affection, built on shared values and mutual respect for each other's roles within the family structure. The moment was brief but significant, observed by several guests who understood they were witnessing something authentic and meaningful within the royal family's often carefully orchestrated public appearances. The genuine warmth between Charles and Catherine provided a counterpoint to any tension that might have been created by the evening's jewelry choices, demonstrating the complex but genuine relationships that existed within the family. As the presentations continued, William found himself reflecting on the evening's events and their broader implications for the family's public image. His natural protectiveness toward both his wife and his father was evident in the careful attention he paid to the dynamics around the table, ready to intervene diplomatically if the situation required his guidance. His role as peacemaker and bridge between different family members had been developed over years of experience with royal family complexities. The charity auction began as dessert was being served, providing additional opportunities for the royal family members to demonstrate their support for the cause. Charles bid enthusiastically on several items, including a watercolor painting by a young artist whose heart condition had inspired her to pursue art therapy. His genuine interest in supporting the charity's work was evident in his active participation and the thoughtful questions he asked about various auction items. Camilla surprised many by successfully bidding on a collection of first-edition children's books that would be donated to hospital pediatric wards. Her choice reflected her longtime interest in literacy initiatives and her understanding of how books could provide comfort to children undergoing medical treatment. The symbolism was not lost on observers who recognized her genuine commitment to charitable causes that supported vulnerable children. Catherine and William collaborated on bidding for a week-long stay at a Scottish castle, with proceeds supporting the charity's family support programs. Their joint participation demonstrated their partnership approach to charitable giving and their understanding of how their involvement could maximize both funding and publicity for worthy causes. As the auction concluded and the evening began to wind down, guests started to circulate again, providing new opportunities for informal conversation and reflection on the night's events. The royal family members continued to engage warmly with guests, their professional composure intact despite the emotional complexity of the evening's jewelry choices and family dynamics. Lady Thornton found herself in conversation with several international guests who had traveled specifically to attend the gala. Their perspectives on the evening's events provided interesting insights into how royal family dynamics were perceived by those outside Britain's traditional royal watching community. The universal themes of family relationships and the challenges of navigating complex histories resonated across cultural boundaries. As the evening drew toward its conclusion, Charles made his way around the room for final conversations with key supporters and organizers. His genuine gratitude for the evening's success was evident in his personal attention to thanking everyone involved, from major donors to volunteer coordinators. The charity had indeed exceeded its fundraising goals, a success that would have lasting impact on children and families facing heart conditions. The final moment of significance came as the royal family members prepared to depart. Catherine and Camilla found themselves walking together toward the exit. Their conversation focused on plans for upcoming charitable commitments. The ease of their interaction suggested that whatever complexities had been created by the evening's jewelry choices had been successfully navigated through mutual respect and shared commitment to their family relationships. As they reached the entrance, Camilla turned to Catherine with an expression of genuine warmth. "Thank you for such a lovely evening, my dear. The charity should be very pleased with tonight's success." Her words carried no trace of tension or awkwardness, suggesting that the evening's potential difficulties had been resolved through the diplomatic skills and genuine affection that characterized their relationship. Catherine's response was equally warm and natural. "It truly was a wonderful evening. The family stories were so inspiring, and the support shown tonight will make a real difference in children's lives." Her focus on the charitable purpose provided a perfect conclusion to an evening that had successfully balanced family dynamics with serious philanthropic commitment. The lasting image of the evening would be the royal family's united support for a worthy cause, their ability to navigate complex personal histories with grace and dignity, and the genuine warmth that existed between family members despite the challenges that royal life inevitably created. The jewelry choices that had created such initial interest ultimately served as backdrop to a demonstration of family strength and shared values that would be remembered long after the specific details of sapphires and diamonds had faded from public memory.